If your blood runs orange and blue, this is the pod for you. You're listening to Orange and Blue Bloods, hosted by EJ Stewart. Let's get to it, New York.
Knicks in four. What's up? This is EJ Stewart. You are listening to Orange and Blue Bloods, a New York Knicks podcast, but actually it's not a New York Knicks podcast anymore. It is an NBA Finals podcast. It is an NBA Finals podcast because the New York Knicks have done what people thought maybe would never happen. After 27 years, the New York Knicks have found their way back in the NBA Finals after, once again, bringing out the brooms and sweeping up the Cleveland Cavaliers. Oh my God, we're here. We are here. This is going to be a ton of fun. We got a lot to get to on this show. We will be recapping Game 4, talking about how the Knicks made this thing happen as they just completely obliterated the Cleveland Cavaliers. This was a 130-93 rout and another takeover of an arena, which Philly is one thing, Atlanta is another thing. Ohio? Not something you would expect. Not something I was really even expecting. But you know what? This is what happened again. Knicks fans made their presence felt. The Knicks on the court gave them every reason to cheer and to take the Cleveland crowd that was there, that I saw reports of maybe 60-40 Cavs. I saw some 50-50 calls, some 55-45. I mean, Knicks fans were everywhere. This is really becoming, again, a historic run that the Knicks are on. And it's not just because they're in the NBA Finals, but it's because of how dominant they are. So we will talk about what happened in this game, how the Knicks got to this point, not just from this game, but just over the course of several years to make it back to the NBA Finals. And we will preview what we can expect from this team when they take the court in more than a week from now for the NBA Finals, because that is exactly what is happening right now. This is not a dream. It really happened. To quote Charles Barkley in Space Jam, the New York Knicks are in the finals. This is Orange and Blue Bloods with your boy EJ Stewart. Make sure, of course, if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you do me a couple of things. Number one, if you can subscribe to the podcast, that'd be great. Number two, if you hit the auto download feature on your streaming service, that would also be great. And number three, if you can give me a 5-star review and even a written review, all those things help the show. All those things help you, boy. And if you can do all those things, I would greatly appreciate it. You can also catch these episodes on our YouTube channel. Just search New Generation Media. That is my YouTube channel where I put all my sports and pop culture content on there, along with my brothers, Shamari and Kendall. Support the channel. Subscribe. And if you subscribe, you want to check out the videos, do me a couple favors as well. Like the video. Comment on the video. Share the video if you can. Again, all those things we greatly appreciate it. So we got to get to this win, man. We're here. We are in the NBA Finals. The Knicks have advanced to the NBA Finals, and this is feeling very familiar. Like the great Chris Berman used to say, once is an accident, 2 is a trend, 3 is evidence. We had Game 6 in Atlanta when the Knicks got up by 60 points against the Atlanta Hawks, or 50 points, however much it was. You had the game against the Philadelphia 76ers, where the Knicks were up 40 points. Now you have this game, but once again, the Knicks go up 40 points. What they do in closeout games is no longer just luck, no longer just kind of what happens. They pummel teams into submission. The Knicks, when it gets to closeout time on the road, they are Bo Jackson in Tecmo Bowl. They are Mike Tyson in Punch-Out. They are Michael Vick in Madden 03. The level of execution and the focus that this team plays with when they have an opportunity to put a team away is completely astronomical, to the point that we like to say the term belt to ass when you see a team just pummeling a team the way the Knicks are, but that feels not apropos for what we see from the New York Knicks. It is not belt to ass when the Knicks are in a position to close out a team on the road. It is off with their head. That is what the Knicks are doing to these teams. And I'm sorry if there's kids around. I'm sorry for the violent reference, but that is what the Knicks have been doing to their opponents. I mean, this was an absolute mauling in the second half. After the Knicks had already gotten up 28 points in the first half, the Cavs actually made this somewhat interesting, cut it into 16. I thought, okay, maybe this would be, I didn't think the Knicks were ever going to lose this game. Okay, maybe this ends up being kind of a fake comeback game where maybe the Knicks win by 15 or 14. No! Another almost 40-point blowout. That is what the Knicks were able to put together. So much so that, forget about calling them the New York Knicks. I am now calling them the Mortal Kombat Knicks. Because these are not just blowout wins. These are gruesome fatalities and flawless victories. The Mortal Kombat Knicks, when they get you in a position to close you out, it's finish 'em time. It is gruesome fatality time. It is flawless victory time. And now the Knicks have done, again, something that we've been waiting a long time for. I was 8 years old the last time the Knicks were in an NBA Finals. And we're going to see this again. And the Knicks have an opportunity to make the ultimate history. They've already made history on this run to just get to the NBA Finals for a team that was in the depths of hell. That is the only way to accurately really describe just how bad things were at Madison Square Garden for so many years. And at different instances. Like, I was talking to my fiance the other day. I was like, because I met my fiance, and maybe I consider a good luck charm. One of our first kind of monumental moments as a couple watching sports was being in her studio apartment on the Upper East Side, and me being devastated that the Knicks lost to Zion Williamson draft lottery. And my fiance trying to understand, so what does this mean? They're 3? What does that mean? So they're not getting Zion? Like, because she doesn't know anything about basketball or about the Knicks or anything. She's like, why do you want to be worse? She didn't get it. That was how this thing started. But I was telling her, I was like, that was definitely rock bottom, but you can't call it the rock bottom because there have been multiple rock bottoms on the road back to the NBA Finals. You want to talk about the Scott Layden era. You want to talk about the depths of the Isaiah Thomas era. You want to talk about losing out on LeBron after basically clearing out your cap space. Okay, you get Amari, and then Melo eventually comes over, and then a couple of playoff appearances, one playoff series win, and then how that thing slowly fell apart. Phil Jackson, Steve Mills. I mean, we can go on and on and on. So there have been multiple rock bottoms for this team over the past 27 years, and now they have made it back. And when we talk about this particular game in Game 4, when we think about the X's and O's and just kind of how this game went down, first of all, love the commitment from the Knicks to get out in transition. I thought that this was a key coming into the series. If you guys remember when I did my preview of the series, I said I thought it was going to be important for the Knicks to get transition points. This is a team with the Cavs that, while the pace they played at in the regular season actually was a little bit faster than the Knicks, this is a team, especially with James Harden, that's going to want to play more in the half court. And this is the team that just went through 2 7-game series, especially the last one against Detroit, who, how the Detroit plays. That's a rock fight, right? That's a war, and they're beating you up. It's a physical contest. And with how the Cavs had played, and after having played a 7-game series against Detroit, you knew that they were going to want to come into this series and they were going to try to slow things down. They wanted to win these games on their terms. And there was no way track meet was going to be their terms to win this series. Because that's not really their style of play, but even more importantly, I just didn't think their legs had it. You could see in the Detroit series that as well as they played to close out Detroit in Game 7, that they were definitely worse for wear because of just the grueling run that they had been on. And I think that this was an important part of this game. The last game I mentioned, how they started at one point, I think the number was 14-0 with fast break points deep into the fourth quarter, which was insane. I'm like, how do you play a game? The Knicks turned the ball over so many times, and the Cavs had 0 fast break points. They weren't pushing the envelope. They weren't trying to get out in any way. The Knicks, a team that is, besides really Josh Hart, they're not really a fast-breaking team. They still got 14 fast break points. I said it was a big key to the last game. And I felt like the Knicks looked at those numbers and maybe looked at that film and said, guys, I mean, we were really trying to really run, and look how many fast break points we got. And they're not running at all. Then, like, the Cavs are there. I asked the question, is this a not in our house team or a 1-2-3 Cancun team? They made it very clear in that first quarter what this game is going to be about. They shot the ball better, but the Knicks were getting whatever they wanted offensively. And you saw so many possessions. James Harden taking the jump shot, not even thinking about getting back on defense. Not even a thought. Not even a ponder. Like, maybe it would be, if I miss a shot, maybe, I don't know, taking a couple back steps to make sure that they don't throw the ball over my head to OG Anunoby or throw the ball over my head to Miguel. Maybe that might be a smart thing. I don't know. It didn't even ponder. It didn't come into his brain that perhaps he may want to do that at some point. Multiple times the Knicks beat them down the court. And those are demoralizing. Because you're playing a team that is, trying to fight to keep their season alive. It's kind of like that Joker meme from The Dark Knight, where it's like, all he needed is a little push. That's kind of what it is when you're facing a team that's teetering where the Cavs were. It wasn't going to take much to send them over the edge to fully allow them to quit after how this series is gone. You blow the game one, you kind of get embarrassed on your home floor in game 3 in a must-win game. It wasn't going to take a lot for the Knicks to get to that point, but they were going to have to play well to do that, and they were going to have to set the tone with their energy, their effort, and outworking them and out hustling them, which is what you saw. That's what happens when you have those runouts. Those plays are demoralizing for a team that's trying to find a reason, trying to find a spark, because they know even if you win this game, you got to win 3 more after this to win the series. If they don't see it, they're going to pack it in. And it makes it easier to pack it in when you're fighting for your life, you're trying to make these shots aren't going, then they're flying over your head for easy layups. You're like, what are we doing here? And then I saw someone post on X, and I agreed. At a certain point, it looked like the Cavs would have rather been anywhere else but on that basketball floor. So, phenomenal job, I thought, by the Knicks by getting in transition. I thought it was a key to the series, and it ended up being a big key to the series in terms of when it shifted to Cleveland, them dominating in transition, a big part of why they're going to the NBA Finals. Now, again, 11-game winning streak in the NBA playoffs. Mind-boggling stuff that's happening. If they win the next game, they would have set an NBA record for a playoff winning streak. Unbelievable. Back to game 4. Got to give another huge round of applause to the perimeter defenders for the New York Knicks. Big round of applause. 9 combined turnovers from Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. Harden had 5. Donovan Mitchell had 4. James Harden was forget about being a well done steak. I mean, he was burned. He was absolutely cooked. It was overcooked in terms of his performance and what he brought to the table. I mean, this was a vintage 1-2-3 Cancun elimination game from James Harden. 2 for 8, 0 for 6 from 3. They took away the 1-3 he made and made it a 2. And that was only one of his 2 baskets. Only 2 assists and 5 turnovers. And again, big round of applause. Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Jose Alvarado, Landry Shamet, and Deuce McBride. All of those guys, I thought their effort in this game was phenomenal. The effort throughout the series was phenomenal. And what you saw was their work ethic and their stinginess in not allowing those guys to be comfortable wore them down and eventually beat them into submission. The competitive spirit to stay in front of those guys, pick them up 94 feet, deny them the ball away from the basket. They just made everything difficult. And it felt like when I was watching Donovan Mitchell put up 31 points and the shooting percentage is pretty good at 9 for 18, but he kind of just felt like a guy who was just kind of going out there kind of just looking to work on some stuff. He didn't look like a guy that in any way was actually playing winning basketball or trying to play winning basketball. I thought he came out aggressive, but as the game went on and the league got so big and the Knicks were continuing to compete and fight, there was no pushback. There was no extra gear for him to get to, and I didn't think he had it. It's why when I made this prediction that the Knicks were going to advance to the NBA Finals before this series, I said that I didn't think this version of James Harden and this version of Donovan Mitchell was good enough to beat the Knicks. And they weren't, but it was in large part because the Knicks forced them to not get to that level. The Knicks, at no point in time with how they guarded those guys, they didn't allow them to get comfortable enough or allow them to get going in a way that would give them any kind of spark that they could turn back the clock if you're James Harden or if you're Donovan Mitchell, reach down deep to put up one of those special performances that I thought maybe he could muster for at least one of these games. They never got one from him. And the Knicks, in terms of their perimeter defense, just stifling. The turnover number for the Cavs, 22 total. 9 from your starting backcourt, 22 total. The disruptiveness from everybody, and I talk about the perimeter guys, but I also thought Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns continued to be very active with their hands as well when it came to steals. I know Mitch had 1, Cat had 2, Cat also had 2 blocks. The Knicks are playing stifling defense. And another aspect of this winning streak for the Knicks, how many games now are we going to see the Knicks keep a team under 100 points? I mean, this is not normal for current NBA basketball where teams are not able to break 100 in the modern day. That's not how this works. During this NBA postseason, the Knicks have allowed less than 100 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times. 6 times allowing the teams to score less than 100 points. That is insane. And I go back to what I've said on this show and what I said on other podcasts I've been on when I've been asked, like, what's the one thing you are, like, kind of keeping your eye on the most about this Knicks team? And as much as the conversation was throughout much of this year was about their offense and how Karl Towns was being used and how Jalen Brunson was playing, and all those things were accurate. Those things that I said. I kept mentioning I wanted to see how this team played defense. Like, when I think about that Pacers series, and I think about how the Pacers took the Knicks apart, it was so much attacking Jalen Brunson. It was so much attacking Karl Towns. And then, like, there were some guys, like, Pascal Siakam, who, as great as OG Anunoby defensively, like, he was having his way with OG Anunoby. Like, the Knicks just couldn't guard. They couldn't keep guys in front of him. And that memory stuck with me way more than, like shots they were missing in that series. Like, I don't really remember the shots being missed. I remember the good looks the Pacers felt like they could draw up on almost every play. And to see the Knicks, after what CJ McCollum did to them in games 2 and game 3, turn the switch and, as Mike Brown mentioned, flip their defense and change their defense of style, change their defensive disposition, and to turn into this kind of defensive team where you're lucky to break 100 points on them. It's stunning. Everything about this postseason run is stunning right now, but the defense in this one also phenomenal. Absolutely a phenomenal job. Yeah, the Eastern Conference Championship MVP being named in this one, the Larry Bird Trophy going to Jalen Brunson. Got to give Jalen Brunson a round of applause. I've graduated him from Captain Clutch. I've been now calling him King Clutch because he is the king of New York right now. He was great in this game. Is another game where they didn't need him in the fourth quarter. Mike Breen said it and actually was stunned. I wasn't surprised, but again, among the stunning stats you hear about this Knicks team in the midst of this run, Mike Breen mentioned that Jalen Brunson has not played in a fourth quarter of any closeout game the Knicks have played this year. He didn't play the fourth quarter against Atlanta, did not play the fourth quarter against Philly, and then they did not need him in the fourth quarter in this game because the Knicks were already up damn near 30 points. What can you say? I mean, he deserved the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and it's not to say the other guys weren't great. I mean, we'll get some other guys that continue to play great, but I mean, Jalen Brunson, he set the tone, and he kind of set the table for this result to look like this. Because the reality is that the Knicks lose game 1, obviously they don't sweep because they would have lost game 1. And I just don't know how the series goes. Like, I think they think they win. I think the Knicks were a better team than this team. But in terms of just like how stingy the Cavs become, how much confidence they gain, I think it's a harder series. Maybe it's the 6-game series I predicted before the game series started. Maybe it's 7. I don't know. I don't think it would have been 5. I think the Knicks might have lost a game somewhere. But who knows? We'll never know. As you know, the great Kanye, not the great Kanye, but the Kanye meme of, I guess we'll never know. That's the realities. We'll never know what this series would have looked like if the Cavs would have won game 1. But what we do know is Cap really set the stage for the Knicks to put the sweep in action by absolutely snatching the hearts of the Cavs in game 1. His performance, destroying James Harden in those isolations, walking the Cavs down, bringing the Knicks back into that game to force it in overtime, and then to win it in overtime. The series was won in game 1. And that's what happens sometimes in the playoffs, man. You never know for sure, but sometimes losses like that are just impossible to overcome. And Knicks fans know it better than anybody because of what the Knicks fans experienced last year. They lost that game 1 to the Pacers, a game they absolutely had. And it wasn't like the Knicks didn't have other good performances and made it interesting. Like, the series ended up being a fairly competitive 6-game series. But if the Knicks would have won that game 1, it feels like the series could have went very differently. that's the nature of basketball. That's the nature of sports. When you have momentum shifts that devastating, it could flip the entire script. It could flip history. And Jalen Brunson, extremely well deserving of being Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and we sung his praises a ton. We're gonna sing a lot of praises on this episode because what else can you do when the Knicks put together another blowout performance to sweep another opponent to advance to the NBA Finals? But you almost feel like you gotta save some of these really big, kind of coronation moments, coronation words for what could possibly come with an NBA championship. But I mean, shout out to the captain again. I thought he set the tone well in this game. If you're looking for any little nitpick in terms of how the game went, I thought the middle quarter, as they say in football, and I don't know if they really use that term in basketball, but the middle quarter of like end of the second, beginning of the third was probably the worst basketball the Knicks had played in this series outside of the first three quarters in game one. It was kind of sloppy. The Cavs went to a zone. Knicks didn't quite figure it out. It took them about 6 minutes of game time to actually like kind of figure out how they wanted to attack it, how to get back into rhythm, how to get back into transition. Once they figured it out, the floodgates opened up again. But it took them a little while. The Cavs were actually able to buy some time, and had they had any pulse, any heart, anything, maybe they could have cut that lead to 13 or 12 and made it kind of really interesting. But the best they could do was kind of cut it to 16, I think. And the Knicks kind of figured them out. They had a couple of bad turnovers again in terms of the Cavs side. Knicks hit some jump shots, got out in transition, and now you're looking at a 20-plus point lead again, and that was history. But otherwise, outside of that little stretch, Jalen Brunson's floor game was great. He shot the ball well, 6 for 14 from the field. He had 5 assists. He had 0 turnovers. This was a game that you feel like if this was a game truly in the balance, this very well could have been another 25 to 30 point game with 8 to 10 assists. This is what could have happened. The game just didn't call for that. It was funny that, and ironic because of just how automatic Mikal Bridges has been, that it was a closeout game that he has his worst shooting performance since game 3 rather, in Atlanta. He shot 4 for 16 in this one. Again, still great praise for him because his defense was awesome. But the fact that the Knicks had a game, and for the Cavs, you're on the Cavs side, like, okay, wow, we finally got a game where we got Mikal Bridges actually miss a shot. And the guy was shooting 69% from the field. Nice. 69% from the field in these playoffs at a certain point. Like, he goes 0 for 8, 1 for 8 from 3. He goes 4 for 16 from the field, and he lose by 37 points. I mean, this stuff is cartoonish. It was crazy? I was watching this game, and I was trying to like compartmentalize like what I'm watching. Like, what is this even? It doesn't remind you of anything related to NBA basketball. Nothing certainly related to what the Knicks would do, unless there's something happening to the Knicks. The best kind of analogy I can make watching the Knicks' dominance throughout these playoffs, and particularly in these closeout games, it almost kind of reminds me of watching like college basketball. Like when a team like North Carolina or Duke or Kansas or some of these Kentucky, whenever they've had their bomb squads, and they just are running roughshod through the tournament, and they're facing teams that are good, that have good runs, that have some good players, but like at the end of the day, man, it's Kentucky. At the end of the day, it's Duke. And there's a certain point, those teams can only do so much, and those programs have had some really lopsided runs in the tournament where they just blown people out left and right. In fact, like Jalen Brunson's and Mikal Bridges' Villanova team is one of those teams, right? They had the biggest blowout, what was it, in Final Four history when they beat Oklahoma. Huge blowout in the national championship game. Like, I'm like, this feels like college. Like this. These other teams got guys on scholarship in theory, but the Knicks are just so much better than these teams. And there's, again, similar to what I said in the last episode, like, there's no real fear that the Knicks are going to lose these games. And just from a personal side, like, coming to this game, tonight felt heavy. I'm recording this podcast Monday night, so I'm not even doing this in the morning, so I'm doing this right after the game. Like, I don't know how you felt as a Knicks fan, and I would love, you can hit me up on social media. And obviously, of course, you can comment on these videos. I love that you reach out to me and let me know what you thought, but, like, I don't know. For me, and maybe it was just the way the day was going, I had a very weird day. It was a great day. It was a weird day. It was, I hosted on the Fan, WFAN New York. So, of course, that's in Manhattan, for those who don't know. So, I had an overnight shift, so I was up overnight. Great show, fun show. But, always takes a toll to do overnight show 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. And a lot of the rest of the day is kind of recovery for the rest of the day. You kind of got to recover to get to whatever you got to do. And I actually had a pretty important thing. I'm getting married soon, and I guess that deserves a round of applause. I'll give a little round of applause myself for that. And I'm getting married soon. And we arranged to have some dance lessons because, of course, you're gonna do a first dance. And anybody who knows me know I'm not a dancer. My fiance is not necessarily a dancer per se. Love you, Andrea. So we were like, it's probably best to actually like hire somebody, like at least show us a couple of things we can do, so we can actually have a plan of how we want to attack this. And maybe only 1 or 2 minutes of action, but we don't want this to be disastrous and embarrassing, because this is going to be videotaped and people are going to watch and they're going to remember this maybe forever if it's bad. So like I kind of woke up and it was like immediately going out again to then like dance for an hour, which is not something I normally do. And then I had to go back to my job for another reason. So I was kind of bouncing around Queens, Brooklyn, and Manhattan. I kind of had some downtime, and I was just walking around the city, and I was walking along the pier, Hudson, River Park, and I'm on, around Piers 35 to 40 or so, kind of in that area. And I'm seeing what was a dreary weekend. Sun comes out. All these people now emerge. So in New York when the weather's nice and the sun is out, like New York has so many beautiful people. So like beautiful people out, people smiling, so much Knicks gear, walking along the pier, people in hats, jerseys, shirts, whatever you got. And just thinking about this journey that the team is on, thinking about even my own career and kind of what I'm trying to accomplish and what we're doing with Orange and Blue Bloods. Today felt heavy because you felt like this was inevitable. That's why it felt heavy, because because the team is playing so well, and because they've been so dominant, and because that this team they're facing can't touch them. There was almost no doubt that the result was gonna end this way. And I won't say I was emotional, but it was just the best way I could describe it was just a heavy feeling. I'm like, man, this is like crazy. Like I'm trying to accomplish a lot in my career, in my life. I have life changes. All right, I'm getting married. I just came from a dance lesson for my first dance, and the Knicks are on the precipice of making the NBA Finals for the first time since '99 when I was 8 years old. It felt like a lot was happening all at once. You see this beautiful day emerge out of what was cloudy, dreary, cold, and rainy weekend. It just felt like everything was coming together all at once. But we had to wait until 8 p.m. to actually kind of have it all happen. So it just felt, I don't know how you felt. I'd be curious to know how you felt just coming into today. But because I had so much time to myself, but then also was busy at the same time, it just made the day weird. And I'm glad I kept busy, because if I was just sticking around the house doing whatever, waiting for this game to start, I would have went ballistic, So, but I don't know. Did it feel heavy for you guys? And this is not, obviously, they're not winning a championship, as anybody knows. They won the Eastern Conference championship, but not an NBA championship, which is what we mainly care about. So, and I haven't lost sight of that, but for some reason, the best way, I've said it 100 times, but the best way I described it was this felt heavy this day, and it was beautiful to see the team come together in this way, and there was no doubt, no regression, no let up. Like, who the Knicks are is exactly who we think they are, who they say they are. To quote, obviously, Dennis Green, they are who we thought they were, and they absolutely performed to the highest of levels, man. So once again, man, give him another round of applause. Huge round of applause again. It's funny, like I mentioned on social media, I'm like, man, it's not a Knicks closeout game. We don't get Pacome Dadier minutes. Like, at this point, it's not a real closeout until Pacome Dadier touches the floor and he's actually getting real game time, because that is the standard the Knicks are setting. Again, this is not a one-time thing. This is now 3 closeout games on the road where the Knicks are doing this to their opponent. Another big shout out to Mitchell Robinson. I mentioned in the last podcast, and they mentioned in the broadcast, and I'm glad people are kind of mentioning it and talking about it, and I think it's any kind of mental health awareness and the understanding that we're all together in this for those who deal with mental health issues, or even if you're not dealing with them, that these people are not alone and we're there for them, and we see them and acknowledge them. Mitch had mentioned that he had been dealing with something that was very tough away from the court, and he was trying to remain focused, but this is all challenging, which is why he changed his number and why he, it was canceling and deleting all his social media. And he was having a rough series. Like I said, I thought the last game was one of the worst games he's played in the playoffs in a long time. I thought he was awful. And it was great to see him bounce back. And I thought the team did a great job by unlocking him offensively early. It got him engaged. He got a couple of quick alley-oops. Bridges started off with a beautiful alley-oop off of a pick and roll, off of some just nonsense defense by the Cavs. Where again, I don't know what coverage they're trying to play on these. They just packed it in, man. But they got him involved. He got a couple early alley-oops, a couple easy baskets, and then you started to see him then defend and rebound and have that impact on the glass and that defensive anchor that you're accustomed to him seeing. It looked more like Mitchell Robinson than we've seen in a while. And that's going to be key. I mean, whoever they face, whether we're talking about the Spurs and Thunder, we'll get to that in a little bit, they're going to need Mitchell Robinson playing at his absolute best. And hopefully he's getting whatever support he needs to deal with whatever he's dealing with off the floor. And it was great to see the Knicks, I think, in a smart way. When he got in the game, look for him. Let's get some alley-oops. There are going to be opportunities because we forced the issue against this team. Again, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're kind of just spinning their wheels. They got Mitchell Robinson involved. He had a great game in this one. It was 18 minutes, 8 points, 10 rebounds in those 8 minutes. He had 5 offensive rebounds. And I mentioned the steal he had. And there were multiple times where like he could have came in with the ball and they didn't. He got fouled. They didn't call it. The refs were weird. I think the refs were hoping this game could have been on a running clock. There were plays. OG Anunoby dunked on somebody. I think it was Strus, and he hammered him, and they didn't call a foul. There were a couple plays OG got hammered on like layups and fouls. They didn't call anything. I'm like, these guys, are they not paying attention? What's going on? Like, Merrill crushed Jalen Brunson after Jalen Brunson had got like a steal or a rebound, and Mike Green's like, there's a foul. Oh wait, no, they're still playing. I guess they didn't call a foul there. I don't know what happened. There were like 5 plays like that. The rest I think were like the Cavs aren't interested, so we're not interested in this game. But shout out to Mitchell Robinson. He had a great bounce back game. This was one of the better performances that he's had in this postseason. So great to see him bounce back in that way. And I think the last big round of applause deserved for this episode has to go to El Presidente. One, Leon Rose. I mentioned this in my show. If you listen to me on WFAN, first of all, much love. Thank you for listening to me on WFAN, especially, knowing that it was sometimes the late hours and stuff. And I mentioned how thankful I am, and I mentioned how thankful Knicks fans should be for Leon Rose's leadership, particularly because of how bold it is. Because when you think about the steps this team took to get to becoming Eastern Conference champions and making it into the NBA Finals, only bold leadership gets them there. At every moment when the Knicks could have settled for incremental growth and hope against hope that something would turn their way and put them in a position without actually doing anything to actually make their own luck or make their own history, they never balked at the opportunity to push the envelope. It was them who saw what others didn't see in Jalen Brunson as a franchise point guard. And we knew it was going to be, how can you give this guy his money? This guy ain't that good. Like, they knew what they were going to face giving Jalen Brunson that contract and then having to sign his dad as an assistant coach. They knew that. Look, they're not stupid. They did it anyway. And look what Jalen Brunson has become as King Clutch and the captain of this team and the superstar player that he is. It took bold leadership to have the foresight to move on from 2 young, homegrown, extremely popular players in R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley. To go get an OG Anunoby who was not a flashy player, not a huge name, not a household name, not somebody that's going to sell jerseys or bring fannies to the seats or anything like that, but was a championship piece. Was a guy that if you're going to win a championship, you need a 6'7", 6'8" guy with his athleticism, his defense, and the incremental growth you were seeing in his offensive game made you feel like he could even become an advanced version of the guy he was in Toronto. That's bold leadership. You could have easily said, we got our 2 first-round pick guys we've been developing. Let's just keep developing this guy and see what happens. No, they said, we need that guy over there. I know he's playing on a team that's not that good, and I know offensively he's still got some ways to go, but we can't win without a guy like that. They went and got him. There were plenty of fans who were like, why are we trading IQ? We're using RJ Barrett to get a non-all-star. This is the trade we're making to get. These are the guys we're talking about getting Donovan Mitchell. No, they. How about bold moves? How about not making that move for Donovan Mitchell? Not selling the farm for Donovan Mitchell. Saying, no, there are actually better winning piece fits for this team than just going for the flashy star. One of those pieces was OG Anunoby. That's bold leadership. The bold leadership, obviously, to trade 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. Again, another guy you thought was a championship piece because you said, we can just hold on to these picks and hope that we draft somebody as good as Mikal Bridges or draft somebody who becomes our savior. Or we could see a guy on another team who we think is a championship piece and say, we need that guy. We need to go get him. The price is high, but you know what? We're not going to win a championship without a guy like this. We're not going to get to the finals with a guy like this. That's bold leadership. The bold leadership to break up the Nova Knicks. You put together this team with all these Nova Knicks. You say, oh, this is going to be exciting. This is going to be fun to see. You say, actually, you know what? Karl-Anthony Towns is a special talent. And in order for the Knicks to reach their full potential, we're going to have to give up something. And damn it, it sucks because Dante DiVincenzo seems like he really is fit on this team. And we know the relationship he has with the guys on this team, especially now that we've added Bridges. But no, we got to get Karl-Anthony Towns. And we got to move on from Julius Randle, despite the All-Star appearances and everything he did to become a star here in New York City. That's bold leadership, man. And then you got a coach who led you through all of that. And yet, you fell short of the conference finals. Of the NBA finals. You fell short of the NBA finals and said, this guy's not going to get us across the finish line here. We could just hold on to him and say, well, we're doing well, and maybe things will break our way, maybe things will happen. Or no, we can build the kind of culture and build the kind of foundation and build the kind of collaborative working environment that we think is necessary to win an NBA championship instead of just, kowtowing to someone else's vision that no longer aligns with yours. And they went and they got Mike Brown. And they fired Tom Thibodeau, with all these moves, questions, jokes, trolling, all the nonsense that came with that. Look at where they're at right now. The front office deserves a ton of credit for building this team into what they have become. A juggernaut. Or like I say, the Mortal Kombat Knicks. The get over here, fatality, flawless victory New York Knicks. All the praise to Leon Rose. All the praise to Leon Rose. What a job as Knicks president. I mean, he's probably the best sports executive we've seen around these parts. I guess you want to say maybe Brian Cashman is still here in theory, but I mean, what, Ernie Costa? Whatever. The guy who used to run the Giants. I don't know. He's awesome. Awesome job from Leon Rose. So, we're here, man. I know that was an old phrase for the team. That was the old call cry. We here. But, no, we really here now. We're in the NBA Finals. This is where we're at. Again, this is no longer just a Knicks podcast. This is an NBA Finals podcast. So, and the last thing I want to leave you as we think about looking ahead to this, with the Knicks advancing to the NBA Finals again for the first time since 1999. Job not done, obviously. You want to see the Knicks take this whole thing home and cross this finish line, of course. But the truth of the matter is, there is still a tall task ahead of them with two teams that are still playing in the Western Conference. You got the Oklahoma City Thunder, and you got the San Antonio Spurs locked into what has been a highly competitive, very fun series to watch if you're a basketball fan. Both of these teams have been the two best teams in the NBA throughout the regular season. The Oklahoma City Thunder are the NBA champions. And I've said this a ton. I'll say it today on this podcast. And I'll be glad to be wrong. But I have no delusion of grandeur of how great the Oklahoma City Thunder are particularly. And the Spurs are a extremely formidable team. And I've said for a ton that I felt like if the Knicks had to face anybody other than the Thunder, I think they'd have a great shot to win a title, and I still feel that way. And so if they face the Thunder, it would be a tough series, but we'd have to see what the matchups are and how the injury luck shakes out and how the teams are playing. That's what I've said from the beginning. We have enough evidence now. At this point in time, if you are one of these folks who are watching the Mortal Kombat Knicks destroy teams throughout this postseason run and go on this demolition derby on the way to the NBA Finals, and you're like, well, whoever comes out of the East is not going to beat the Spurs or the Thunder coming out of the West. You're not paying attention. You don't know anything about basketball. And you're someone who is living in narratives and living in a fantasy world that is not the world of reality in terms of what you are seeing. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the Knicks just beat the 86 Celtics. But it is not normal what this team is doing to these opponents. I am not convinced that if the Thunder or the Spurs were playing these teams, you'd have multiple 30-point blowouts in closeout games on the road. I'm not convinced of that. And it's not about the names on the other side or even what the other side has accomplished when it comes to the Thunder and the NBA championship. It's about how teams are playing right now. And there is no team in the NBA playing as well as the New York Knicks. It is why last season when the NBA Finals started last year and so many fans were like, oh, well, you know, the Thunder or they've been this great team in the regular season 2 years in a row. They're just going to walk through whoever comes out of the East. And I think I know I was a salty Knicks fan because, you know, that's just the Knicks fan disposition. But I'm always fair. And I said, you're crazy if you don't think that the Pacers can make this a series. Like, did you not watch the team that just beat the Knicks and destroyed the Cavs in the series before? Like, Pacers are a damn good team. Don't give me regular season record. Don't give me, you know, this guy won an MVP and they got 3 or 4. Don't give me that. I don't care about that. I'm looking at how the teams are playing. The Pacers were playing exceptional basketball. And the things they were doing to make life difficult on their opponents, they were going to be able to do against whoever they face, which is why they may have been a Tyrese Halliburton injury away from pulling off one of the biggest upsets in NBA history. It wouldn't have been an upset. It was a very competitive match against two teams that were really good. And it's funny to see the same narratives being spat out again as if I didn't just watch the Thunder survive a 7-game series last year when they were runaway favorites to come away with the NBA Finals last year. They had a dangerous, big scare in their NBA Finals appearance last year. And I think that they are in for a rude awakening again when they get to the NBA Finals. If they get there. Whether it's the Thunder, whether it's the Spurs, we're not at prediction time yet. I'm not giving you predictions right now. Again, we got to let those teams play. I want to see how these teams are playing. I tell you one thing. I watched Game 4. Like I said in the last episode, Spurs, I didn't say it in the last episode, I said on WFAN last night. Thunder, they didn't look gassed to you. They don't look a little worse for wear, just like I said with the Cavs. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander kind of looking a step slow. They got multiple guys injured now. Spurs, obviously a great team, but extremely young. The Knicks have every bit the opportunity to win an NBA championship as anyone else that is playing in the NBA playoffs right now. That is the reality. And whatever gimmick you want to come up with to denigrate this run to the New York Knicks, you're just showing your ass at this point. The Knicks are here. They are for real. And as I've said pretty much since the Philly series, there is real reason to be optimistic about what the Knicks can do in this season, this postseason. Unbelievable run. What a ride we're on. It ain't stopping. We're playing June basketball, something that we have not been able to say for a long time. In fact, the last time they were playing June basketball, they actually were still playing in like the Eastern Conference, like conference finals and semifinals because it was a lockout year, so the year went late. So this is real June basketball. I guess they did eventually play June basketball with final stuff, but that was different. This is going to be real June basketball with only 2 teams left, and the Knicks are going to be one of them. And they've already salted away their end of the bargain. Now they got to wait for whoever comes out of the West. Job well done by the whole team. Thank you to you the listener and the viewer who's been rocking with me here on Orange and Blue Bloods. And again, we got some time now. Well, in terms of housekeeping notes, I guess we got to do this kind of stuff now. The NBA Finals, in terms of when it begins, I know it's a 9-day layoff, so you will be talking about Wednesday, June 3rd. That is the start date of the NBA Finals, and the Knicks will be going on the road because whoever they face, they will have obviously a worse regular season record. So this will be the first series the Knicks will have that will be not a home court advantage series. But I will once again say, have you seen this team play on the road? I will also say, have you seen how this fan base travels? Again, Philly and Atlanta are one thing. They're taking over Cleveland? Listen, it's the NBA Finals, and especially the Thunder. I mean, these are two organizations that have actually been there a ton now. Thunder have been there twice in a very short time period in terms of their franchise history. Spurs have been there a million times now since the Tim Duncan era. I would assume that those fans will show up in big numbers, and it won't be what it's been in the Eastern Conference. But I'm not, again, similar to not putting any limitations on the Knicks anymore as a team, I'm also not putting any limitations on what this fan base will do. And the money that will be spent and the commitment this fan base has to showing up wherever the Knicks are to support them. You can't do it at this point after what I saw in Cleveland on a Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Monday night. So Knicks will go on the road. I don't think that that's a huge disadvantage for them because the Knicks have been a better road team. They show up on the road. And then, again, I think there's a level of focus. They're able to get away from the New York hoopla. But then there's enough New York coming with them in this game. I don't listen. I don't know if anybody's listening to this podcast. I don't know if, and when I say anybody listen, I know there are people listening because people will tweet me and text me things I'm saying on the podcast. I don't know if anyone in the know or with a connection is listening to this podcast, but I will say, as someone who saw some phenomenal super fans, content creators, media folk getting to travel on the jet with Stephon Marbury and different Kurt Thomas and Knicks alums. I saw my guy CP, the franchise. Shout out to him. He's been on the show. He was out there. I saw Mill Media. Shout out to Mill. She was on the jet. I saw Kazim. Shout out to Kazim. I saw Miro. I saw all these folks that got the opportunity to get on the jet and fly to Cleveland for this closeout game. That's how you just knew it was going to happen. I'm like, this is just fate. There's no way all these people are going to fly out there and Knicks are going to get blown out and lose. There was no way that was going to happen. And again, old Knicks history, that's what would have happened. The Knicks would have flew all these people out. These people would have showed up. They would have done all the content and everything, and Knicks would have lost by 15. And you'd be like, well, that was for nothing. But hey, whatever. I guess, still memories, right? It's like, no, with the way this is going, yeah, don't worry about jinxing it, superstitions. Yeah, put Stephon Marbury on a plane, let him get on the microphone and be the captain of the plane. Let him do all that stuff and show up and nick out when you get to Cleveland, man, because there's no stopping this train, or in this case, no stopping this plane. And to anybody that may be listening to this podcast that may have the hookup, the connect, I'm all fully willing, ready, and able to be a Knick supporter somewhere in Texas or in Oklahoma where I have to be if I get the funds and the support to do so. I'm just saying. I'm putting it out there. I am fully ready to go. I know there are other folks that are like, man, I didn't get the invite, whatever. I'm like, listen, I'm not assuming I deserve an invite. I'm not saying that I am owed anything at all. But I think given, how I've covered this team and commented on this team and what I've been able to do in my life, always loving this team, if somebody says, hey, we got an extra spot next time we fly to San Antonio, Oklahoma City, throw one to your boy. I would be totally down for that. I'm just saying. But what an awesome opportunity, by the way, for all those people. And those people are getting to know some of those people just in a mostly professional sense. I feel like this finals run, I gotta come outside a little more. I gotta be real. I kind of like to keep my fandom to a distance, to a little bit covering this team, but there's so many great, awesome content creators, so many great, awesome Knicks fans on social media, and I gotta get outside more, man. And this might be the finals. This might be the time for me to start coming outside. So I'm saying that to say, if any of my friends who were on those PJs want to throw your boy a bone or put in a good word to Mr. Jimmy D, that I'm good people and I'll gladly be loud and show up in Oklahoma City or show up in San Antonio and root for the Knicks, I greatly appreciate that. But again, what an awesome opportunity for those folks. They all deserve it. I mean, it was really heartwarming seeing all these people. I'm like, yeah, these are people that I've seen making Knicks content when the Knicks are winning 19 games a year. And now they're one win away from the NBA Finals and they're about to take over another team's arena. It's a special time. This is truly a special time for what we're seeing with the New York Knicks. And what a run it's been, man. But the Knicks are going to the NBA Finals. Now we got another long layoff to figure out what we're going to do between now and when those games get played. But we will find something to do. We will find some guests. We will update on what's going on in the Knicks, practices or whatever we got. We'll find ways to continue to do some more shows while we have this layoff. But the Knicks are going to the NBA Finals, and oh, how sweet it is. But that's going to do it for this edition of Orange and Blue Bloods, man. So I want to thank you guys for checking me out. Of course, once again, enjoy this episode. Make sure you subscribe to the channel wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you give me a 5-star review. And hit the auto download feature. All those things will help. These episodes also get posted to YouTube. So make sure you also subscribe to the YouTube channel, New Generation Media. And while you're there, make sure you like this video. And make sure you comment in the comment section about how much you love me or what you want to say about this Knicks journey and what it's meant to you. I want to hear your comments. I will reply. I read them all. That's going to do it for now. Thank you guys so much for checking me out. I'm EJ Stewart. Let's go Knicks. Knicks in 4.